does put our firefighters at more risk if we have to do, also pay attention to people that are behind us as well as the fire that's in front of us. So we do ask that you cooperate when we ask you to leave. We're doing it for a reason. We can replace houses and things. We can't replace you. So.
Yeah, Tim Otis on Vancouver Road, but I'm new to this. I came here from Nome just a couple months ago, but there's no trees in Nome, so the question was, if we are to evacuate and we put a blanket or a note saying though that we've evacuated, what else can we do? What kind of services can we expect from the crews to protect our homes? And I guess the ultimate question is, what are the chances, the risk reward you talked about, of the fire coming south of Murphy Dome?
Yeah, that's a two-part question there, I guess. And as far as the structure protection stuff that we have going on, the nice part about having the extra days of cloudy weather that we have, when I got the phone call at about 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday and we started mobilizing to come up here from the Pacific Northwest, we thought we were going to have one day of rain, an afternoon of clouds, and then we were going to have this fire up and running. We had the opportunity to have a few days more because of the cloudy weather, and it's allowed us to really plan. So we have multiple things in place. One, we have our crews that are up there in what we call our structure protection groups right now that are in the neighborhoods and cruising around and making sure those sprinklers are working. We've worked with, as we started this burn operation, with Fairbanks Area Forestry, and we made sure we didn't take away all of their engines so they can still respond to initial attack. But they did provide us with a bunch of engines. If you drove up the road right now, you'll see a bunch of green trucks driving around. They're kind of our secondary reserve force. If we start to have an issue and problems start coming over, we'll call them. One of our division supervisors is working with that group of engines, and they'll come in and help as a backup for that too in that spot. And then if we get to the point where we have lost everything and we're doing point protection in and around the houses, we have an agreement and we've worked out with the local fire departments that they will also respond. We can't do structure fires. We only work on the fires that are around the structures, but they'll be able to come in and help us with structure protection if we need to. So we have multiple layers of planning that's gone into this. It is that risk versus reward, and there is no guarantee that it won't end up there. But when we engage in an operation and start working on it, we try to pick the ones that have the highest probability of success that we feel we can pull off, and then we always have backups. So those are our backups right now. Is it 100% that we could save everything in there? Probably not. But we'll do our darndest to do what we can.
Yeah, David Gibbs, I'll handle part two. Thanks for the question. The services you could expect if you were evacuated is the question I'll respond to. Okay, thanks. We have actually set up an emergency shelter now at Randy Smith Middle School in Fairbanks. We've got a school that's been identified as a backup to that, and then a church that's a backup to that. So we have enough capacity. We've got folks up from Anchorage to help. The Red Cross operates our shelters on our behalf. We got folks that brought up equipment from Anchorage and people to staff those shelters. We also have established a kind of a pet holding area, emergency pet holding area at the Tanana Fair. We've got a whole barn set up to receive animals as well. So, thank you.
Jen Reed, Vancouver Subdivision. Hey, welcome. Looking forward to getting to know you under different terms. We understand you guys have been really clear about how we can and can't be helpful. We know to be evac ready. We know to not try to offer food, but instead, offer thanks. Most of us have holding tanks instead of wells. Should we be putting up our own sprinkler systems around the home with notes saying turn this toggle? Or do we need to just stand down and leave and hope for the best? Like what actually works when you get to a situation where we are in evac 3 and you've already done Firewise? What are some additional things that people can do?
Well, really, the Firewise work beforehand is what really needs to happen, and like Chris said, that stuff that it really needs to happen is you're thinking about building your house and putting your property up and clearing out that spot and having built a home up here myself. I know how hard it is to get everything whacked back, and then you want to get started, you want to get up, and you want to get in, and then it's an endless process of trying to clear everything else around your property for sure. But as far as like putting up sprinklers and stuff like that, by the time we get to a go notice, it really is more beneficial for us if you can just leave, and we'll come in with the equipment we need to start working on that, what we can do in that spot there.
So if you're into, there's no point in putting up a sprinkler system, or there is?
If you're in a 2 right now and you have the capacity to do that, it's not going to hurt. But the second hand, I mean, if we're in that point too where we're coming back and forth, I mean, I'm not going to encourage everyone to go down and buy Walmart out of sprinklers right now to go set them up. But it wouldn't hurt. But what really helps us out the most is getting that cleared space around the house so that when we show up and we come in, we have a way that we can get down your driveway and get out. We can see where we're going. We know what's down there. An open driveway enough that you think about a truck that's the size of an engine can turn around and get back out. Those are the things that really help us out. The sprinklers won't as much because we're going to come in and just try to put out whatever's on the ground. But really cleaning up around those eaves, underneath the decks, everything that's around the spot. What ends up happening generally when a house burns, it's not when the fire front comes through. A lot of times houses burn after that, whenever the embers are sitting there and there's spot fires that are in the yard that don't get picked up. And if we can get in and get those, then we can get those out.
Will you be bringing in water? So if we have a well or a tank and we're,
I'll let you take this one.
use our water or?
So those that didn't hear, she asked if we will be bringing water into your holding tank, is what you're
I
asking?
have a well, but
Yep.
I'm thinking if you run my well dry, does that mean?
Right. No. So what we have, thank you. What we have done is we are hauling water from town up the hill to the fire station there. They have an 50,000 gallon holding tank. So we're bringing it from town, putting it in the tank, taking it out of the tank and taking it up to the hill, and we have portable tanks up there set up on the hills. So we take the water, take it to the mountain, put it in the portable tank, and that's how we supply water to our sprinkler systems, and our hose lays along the control line. The intent behind that is just that. Majority of your wells are not strong enough, your tanks aren't big enough to sustain the amount of water that we're flowing. Chief, give me a round number on the number of gallons we've run out of your station in just an average day.
50 or 60,000 gallons a day at minimum.
Yeah, so you have 1 or 2 gallon a minute wells, I assume? Or the holding tanks are 500 gallons, right? Okay, I'm just so we want to bring a reliable source to the fire so that we can support it. We know how to support it, and we bring all the equipment to do that. Ma'am, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, along these same lines, those that have the well, this hasn't been brought up by the borough about Golden Valley, which is our electrical cooperative. I was told that if the fire is imminent, Golden Valley will shut the power off, but that's never been addressed. So if the power's shut off, your well's not going to work.
You are correct, sir. And I have been working personally with Golden Valley on what we're doing with the electrical. We do have a plan in place for the safety of the firefighters in and around the fire where they're burning. We have dissected, there's portions of the feeder lines that come in. There's opportunities to shut portions of that off. And it does affect those homes. The intent behind that was, like I said, for firefighter safety as we're firing along the power lines. After the fire is moved away from the power lines, that would be that opportunity where we could re-energize the power. We didn't want to have to shut everybody's power off, so we're trying to, like I said, keep the intensity low around the power lines, keep the homes powered so that folks can do what they need to do.
So for the level 1 properties, what kind of, will you be sending personnel out, or is that not at that level where you'll be starting to look at those properties?
So at a level 1, what they'll do is the notification part. Like Rob mentioned earlier, we have folks out there looking around and trying to plan for what's going to be needed for those areas. In a level 1, traditionally we don't set up the sprinkler systems in those areas because they're further away from the actual fire and our actual containment lines. But it's more of a notification so that people are thinking about, what was it, your 6 Ps. We talked about the 6 Ps, so that folks are planning for it.
Hi, Dave Klum, confluence of Chattanooga River and Murphy Creek. Just curious.
So like right here?
As a matter of fact, yes. So when you're going to be burning this line, are you utilizing the Murphy Creek Trail that comes off of this ridge? Just
Yes. You'll love it.
And you know, the Murphy Creek drainage, or are you going to be starting your burn a little bit farther to the east?
Well, they're still looking at what they're gonna work on in there, but they got on the Murphy Ridge Trail, that's what they came down on to get in there. Some of the crews that came off of McLeod got down onto Murphy Creek and they put in a saw line that they started working up, right? And these guys are making another saw line. The advantage that we have once it gets down into these flats out here is that, of course, it does flatten out, it gets a lot wetter. The fuel change also changes down there where it's a little bit more advantageous. In here where it's really tight and narrow, as you folks know that have been up there, it's all black spruce back and forth. And trying to get that taken care of is a lot more difficult than when we get down here and we get the fuel change.
Okay, because yeah, the trail does split down here and follows this ridge line back, and then the other side.
We've we've been here 4 days. The other crew had been here for 8 days. The Pioneer Hotshots have been here the whole time, and I think Chris Baumgartner, their superintendent, has walked every inch of this at least a couple of times. He's been all over the place, along with the rest of the crews. They've been trying to work the problem as we've been working on the roads and putting in the dozer lines. Crews have been going around trying to find areas where we had opportunities to put in something that might be successful.
Okay, is this on?
No.
You, hey, okay, we have a question from our online audience, and thanks everybody for joining us. We have a couple hundred people online right now. Meredith Mavenkamp, when do you expect Murphy Dome Road to be open?
See, that rolls right uphill just like that, doesn't it? So you're talking about Murphy Dome Road? Old Murphy Dome Road.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Old Murphy Dome Road is going to be closed for a while now. We're using that as our main operation, and even if you try to get up there right now, all that water needs to get moved up there somehow, right? So all that water is coming up in huge water tenders, and they're going up right now. Like today when we started lighting, they've got a pretty intricate pattern where they're coming up Spinach and then going out and coming back down the other way. So they're coming in a circle. And trying to get back and forth in there as we're moving dozers around and lowboys and engines and the water tenders. There's just not enough room for anybody else to be up there. So we've got it closed now, one, so that we can move, and two, so that if the fire does come over, we're able to respond to that without having any other traffic in there. All of this, we're cognizant of the folks that have been out of their homes now for 5, 6, 7 days. That haven't been able to get back in there. We're trying to do it just as quickly as we can, and part of the reason for doing the burnout operation that we are is to lengthen the duration of this incident as much as we can.
Short.
Did I say lengthen? Sorry. I'm so happy to be home that I don't want to go back to Washington. To shorten up the length of this incident as much as we can. Again, one of the things that we're going to be seeing too with the hot and drier weather is a competition for resources that are that are here in the state right now. We have brought up, I heard on the call today, they've just brought up the 11th and 12th jet load of crews from the lower 48. That's 5 crews in each jet load. So we've got a lot of resources in the state. But as other things start picking up, there's a fire down by Montana Creek. The fire out towards Livingood was picking up. They've got stuff out in Toke that's picking up. So there's things that are happening. They're going to start to be a draw on resources. So anything we can do to speed up this incident here, get us it off the map, get those crews available for someplace else, and then get you all back into your homes to get the road back up is what we're trying to do. Time frame on that? I don't have one right now. The weather's just getting hotter and drier. We're doing what we can to speed that up, but we will definitely be paying attention to where we are in that time frame and open things up just as soon as we think it's safe.
Hi, Rick Colston, Old Murphy Dome and O'Connor Creek subdivision. It might be even on the map up there yet.
I missed your Murphy Dome Road and O'Connor Creek?
O'Connor Creek, Hattie Creek goes.
That's way east, yeah, no, we're not there yet.
We come in on the Elliott Highway side.
Yeah, that's much farther back, right.
And they've got construction and
We've talked with, and a part of the evacuation plan for going out across the top of Old Murphy Dome Road out to the Elliott. We've been in touch with Alaska DOT, and if we have to make that call that we're doing the evacuation, we'll talk to those, the shift foreman out there. They'll help us expedite traffic through that area also.
If I want to go up Spinach Creek and turn east and go to my cabin out there, can I do that?
No.
Another question then. I'm not in the McLeod subdivision.
Right.
I'm off the end of it in DNR land. Did you do anything because the fire thing, the break, was stopped below my property and it didn't continue on? Did you do anything with that?
Get my fancy pointer out here. Told you I'd use it. So specific to McLeod, no, I'm pretty sure I know where you're at. So you're sitting about right out in here. Yep. Okay. So the shear blade ends, and then it picks back up, sits back in here. What we've done is we've gone through underneath, where we've off this ridge here. We've gone underneath a majority of the subdivision and put a check line in, or a control line. We've also put in check line, control line around the back side of the McLeod subdivision, encompassing the homes that sit in there. So several different, I'm going to say, sides, we put in protections. Yep.
That was one of those places too, is kind of the projects that we've worked on. I was here at Hastings and we got around this side and we just never quite figured out how to get across that. So we ended up getting our hand pushed this time, so we did.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take 2 more questions, gentlemen, right here, and then ma'am, right back there. And then after that, remember, folks will stick around. They'll be up here at the maps, so we can continue to ask questions. Thank you.
I just had a question about notification. 2 o'clock in the morning, and things get out of hand, and they want you to leave. You get people running around banging on doors, or is it all just the text message?
There'll be multiple forms of notification. We've been working through that too, and with what we're looking at right now and the fire behavior we're seeing and what we have in place, that's part of our proactive planning, is to not do an evacuation at 2 o'clock in the morning, to have our management action points so the fire gets to an area that gives us enough time to get warnings out, not only on Facebook and through text messaging, but also having people come through the neighborhood. If you've been up there and you've seen it, well, you might haven't, because we haven't let you back into your place. But the places are marked right now with flagging to let people know whether there's somebody still in that structure or if they're out. And then they're continually going around our folks and checking and making sure that everything looks good and everything's secure. The National Guard's up there also making sure that nobody comes in or out while we're in the middle of all these operations. Right in the middle there. She's on the fly.
She's jogging.
Okay, one last question here, folks. If you have any online, go ahead and ask those and I'll take the answers.
I hope this is a general question. How wide? You said enough room for the truck to get in. How wide does that have to be? Enough room for the truck to get turned around? What are we talking about here? And how would we find out? I know this is a preparation question, but how do we find out for making sure we have that long term?
It is a preparation, right? And you can contact Fairbanks Area Forestry, and they can have a prevention person that can come out and walk you through and give you some information on Firewise, and they could answer that question at that point too, to come out and take a look around. There's several other, I believe, as I remember, we had Fairbanks area did most of that stuff, but I think there's some other agencies too here in town that can come out and help you get some grant money and other things for doing Firewise around your place also.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the wonderful questions. I think we got a lot of great information out there. Just as a reminder, our team here, Rob, Chris, Andrew, David will be sticking around to answer any additional questions. If you'd like to come up with a map and take a look at it closer at the map. Also, we have printed off some additional maps that you can take home with you. They're at the table in the back. If you would like one of those, please go ahead and grab one of those as well. Otherwise, thank you so much. And as a reminder on there, if you have more specific questions, our fire information phone number is on the back of the agenda. And feel free to give us a call. We've got a whole staff here that's ready to answer your questions. Thanks and have a great evening.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in tonight. Hey, if you go and watch part 1, you can get the rest of the Shovel Creek Fire update. And feel free to also leave your comments below. We will still reply to them if you have any more questions or comments. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you later.